going to get started.
Yes.
We here for not a long time, here for a short time. I first wanted to say thank you for being brave enough to be my first guest here. It is something that I have been wanting to do, as you know, for a very long time. For those who don't know me, my name is Ronnie. I am the creator and founder of Every Shade of Infertility. And for those who are OGs, we did not start off that way. I recently changed the brand a little bit to reflect everything that under the umbrella of infertility. Even though we focus in my personal Facebook group, we focus on women who are using third-party reproduction to build their families. I wanted everyone to know who use unconventional ways, who go through infertility, that there still is a space for you. We often, sometimes being of color, don't always want to share about the things. And I wanted to create a space that someone who looked like me was able to come forward and be brave enough to share their story so that we could affect someone who is sitting there. And it happens to me all the time. I think Sherri can say it happens to her all the time, that we always get that inbox like, I am so happy you said something because my doctor said X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And they don't know who to go to. Their family tells them, they're not as supporters that they think, or, they kind of just, shrug it off to say that, okay, it'll be fine, girl. Just keep
Relax.
trying, relax,
No
go on
stress.
vacation.
Yeah.
And there's a whole tribe of us that know that, look, it ain't enough relaxing to gonna get us to where we go.
Yeah.
So
I wish. I wish. I
So
wish.
let's start off here. Sherri, do you want to just introduce yourself
Yeah.
and tell a little bit of your journey and how you got to the end? If you have been seeing the promo, we do know that there is a light at the end of the rainbow. So I
Yes.
say we just get started.
Yeah, let's do it. So if you don't know me, my name is Sherri. I started this journey through YouTube, honestly. And, my husband and I had been trying to have a baby for a very long time, and it just wasn't working naturally. And so we sought to do IVF. And I wanted to document that journey. And so I started my YouTube channel through documenting our journey. And through the course of, we started in 2021 in terms of IVF. We were trying before that naturally. But we started IVF in 2021. And so 3 clinics later, we finally have our baby girl. But it was a very long, interesting journey. Definitely tried with, and a lot of people don't know this, but, we tried, IVF using my eggs for a long time. You don't know what that process is like. It is very intense going through egg retrievals. Your body has to take on all these extra hormones. So physically and emotionally, it is very taxing, and it's a lot. And so after a while, you just get to the point where you're like, how much rejection can my soul take? And I tell people this all the time, is like with IVF, you go through it and you can keep doing egg retrievals and you can keep doing that. When people reach out to me and they're like, I'm kind of been going through this for a while and I'm trying to decide, when I'm going to make that transition into third-party reproductive methods. And I'm just like, you have to weigh how expensive it is, not just financially, but emotionally. And for me, it was just too expensive. And my end goal was always to be a mother. And so I've always been open to adoption. I've always been open to, anything, any way to become a mother. Genetics was never a deal breaker for me. And so when I started hearing the conversation about using donor eggs, it wasn't something that I was super opposed to, and thank God my husband wasn't either. But, of course you still have to go through your process of deciding if, because for you as the mother, if you're using donor eggs, you have to be able to grieve your genetics a little bit. And so whether you are like super on board and ready or not, you're still going to go through that grieving process. And so I did that. I've always had a therapist. So, like getting help with mental things and issues and things like that, yeah, freedom, it was hard. I mean, it was a hard decision to make because you always dream as a little girl of having this baby and, she's going to have something like yours, especially if you're going to have a daughter, she's going to have my eyes. I always wanted, my daughter to have my eyes or, certain features or be like my height. I'm 5'10". And so kind of getting your mind wrapped around like, well, maybe I won't have that is something that you have to grieve, And so I did. But like I said, I mean, I grew up taking care of my little cousins, taking care of my nieces and nephews, had dogs all my life. So I'm used to loving things that are not genetically related to me. And so it wasn't hard in that sense, but choosing the point we got to being to wanting to choose a donor. So this is how I met Sharonda. So we were going to another clinic in New York and we, were going to use donor eggs there as well, but they didn't have as diverse of a pool of donors. And I don't know if anyone knows, Camille, what is it? From the Cade Foundation. She's my line sister's older sister. And so I knew her journey with fertility a very long time ago, like, back when they went through all of that and everything. And so I had reached out to her because, like financing all this stuff is not cheap. And this was like before I had Progyny. So, it was something that we were going to have to maybe consider paying out of pocket or whatever. And so I was telling her that we were going through CNY, we were having a talk, and I was like, I really am open to using a donor, but they have a grant at the Cade Foundation. So I was, like, well, can it be used for something like donor eggs? And she's like, you can use it for whatever you need to do to get, no, Sharonda and I are not both AKAs. I'm an AKA and she's a Delta, but the best sororities. So when I talked to Camille and I was telling her we were going through CNY, and CNY has a program where you can add like 4 donor eggs onto your own cycle. And so for a lot of people, that's a really good deal because it's not like as expensive as most clinics, are going to charge you whatever. And so she was like, let me tell you something. When it comes to something like this, like choosing a donor, deciding to use a donor, choosing donor eggs, you do not want to go to the Walmart of donor eggs. You need to get exactly what you want. And there's nothing against CNY. I think, there's been like, yeah, I mean, plenty of people have had success there, like friends of mine, have had success there with no problem. And it's awesome when it works. But for us, from those 4 eggs that we got, and I remembered the conversation I had with Camille, and I was like, I'm going to try it out and see. And if it doesn't work, then we'll pivot and make a change. So we got 4 donor eggs. We only ended up with 1 embryo from that. And so so I did my egg retrieval. We had those donor eggs. So I wanted to transfer the embryos that we made from my eggs first. So we did 2 transfers, 2 embryos each time. So, prior to that, we were with the clinic in Atlanta. So I had been through like 2 egg retrievals. It would have been 3, but one of them, it didn't work and it didn't turn, we had to turn that cycle into an IUI cycle, which didn't work. And then we switched to CNY. And then I did those 2 transfers with, the embryos that we made there, and it didn't work. And I was just like, I'm tired. I'm tired of this. I'm tired. We had that 1 embryo left from the donor eggs that we got there, but we really wanted more than 1 child. And we really wanted a woman of color. The donor that we chose at CNY was Italian, and she's like from like Sicilian descent. So that was the closest I could find to a woman of color. And I remember my conversation with Camille, and she like that don't settle conversation. There's a way around it. I was going to apply for that grant. And then I found Sharonda's Facebook group. I don't know how I found it, but I found it. It might have been through like the Daughters of Hannah.
Probably Shannon. Shannon's my recruiter.
Some recruiter or evangelizer was there, recruited me or something, and I found it. And I was like, the original name of the group was Women of Color Donor Eggs, right?
Yep.
And so it was, you would only be admitted if you were a woman of color, if you were using donor eggs or donor sperm or donor embryos. And let me tell y'all, the admin, because I'm an admin now, they are tough. We will go on your profile and look to see if you are any descent of color anywhere that we can find. You know, you don't have to be like all the way, you know, you could be like, you know, maybe you have mixed children or something like that, or your partner is that. So, you know, but we are very adamant about making sure that our group is representative of us. And when I joined that group, that sealed the deal for me in terms of like the donor thing, because we still had that embryo and I was like, well, we can transfer it. But when I joined that group and I saw all those success stories, all those women's stories about how happy they were with finding their finding their donors and the experiences they have. I mean, people have been some of everywhere to get their babies. And that's Sharonda's motto, is go get your baby. And she would always say that, go get your baby. And that meant like, do what you got to do to get your baby. And so the group is great because like we have resources in there on how to help finance this process. So like working for certain companies that provide the Progyny insurance. Sharonda's created like a list of all those companies that offer Progyny. That's pinned at the top of the group. It's just like, it's more than just a Facebook group. It's like a family. It's like our own little private family. It's private, so no one else can see there. I mean, I found myself posting more in that group than anywhere else. Like I would never post stuff like that on my my personal page. And so I met Sharonda and we were talking and I was like, you know, I kept hearing people talk about Utah Fertility Clinic and I saw that she was a patient there. And I was like, what's going on in Utah? Why does everybody want to go there? And she was like, they just have like a great selection of donors, like women of color, you know, also proven donors that have cycled like a lot of, you know, a good amount of times and had good results. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll schedule a consultation. And I think we had our consultation in 2022 in June of that year. And I remember it was the same day that I got my beta results from my transfer from my clinic at CNY. And I did that on purpose because if it didn't work, then that was my plan B. And so I wouldn't be too sad. But if it did work, then I'd be like, we don't really need this appointment right now. You know, we can reschedule it or whatever. And so it didn't work. But I remember my coordinator at the time, she was like, you know, because, you know, we had to upload like our pictures and create like a little profile. And as soon as we talked to her, she was like, you guys are way too cute of a couple to not have a little baby. So we're going to get you a baby. And they
Was
did.
that Tanya? Was that Tanya?
No, Haley. It was Haley.
Oh, Haley. Okay.
It was Haley. And from the process, we started in June. And by September, I was going for a transfer. And then it was just not like, you know, it wasn't just the donors that were great, like the doctor there, my doctor there, Dr. Folk, so amazing. I mean, he found things that were going on with me that in all the years of us trying before and all the other clinics, no one had found, because I have adenomyosis. And so that was like why I was having trouble with transfers. And so, you know, we did try one transfer with the donor that we used in Utah, and it didn't work. That was in September of that year. And he's like, well, let's just treat the adeno and we'll try it again. And then we treated that, and then we transferred Ella in February, and that's all she wrote. But like, y'all, when I say like, you got to find your tribe, you got to find your tribe, because this is nothing that like, you know, that your best friend, that your, you know, your family, like no one's going to be able to coach you through all of this the way that your tribe can help you, you know? Is that you, Heather, facing destiny?
I want to thank everybody for coming in. If you're just joining us, I'm talking to Sherri. She is sharing her infertility journey, and she's just getting to the part where she is telling us that she used a donor to create her beautiful daughter. Mm-hmm. And It is, I want to talk to you just about, because I know you said in there is finding someone who looks like you. Tell us like how
Mm.
hard that actually was, like, and if you used someone who was not, like, how did you become like okay with not doing that?
That's a great question. And I just want to say hi, Heather. Hi, everyone that's just joining. So that was the thing. And this is where the group helped me a lot because I would always post and like you have to be active in these groups, y'all. Like if you're joining communities and it's a safe space and you feel like it's safe, sorry about that horn. I don't know what's going on. But you have to participate so that you can get the feedback and the support that you need. Nobody's going to know how to support you if you don't say what you need. So, I was talking to people that had posted their picture, their, stories, and I would DM them, privately, or I would just look at the stories where people would, be talking about how did they choose the donor. And so at first I was looking for my twin, and that's what most people do. You go in, you're looking for someone that is your height, your skin tone, your everything. You want them to have a degree, you want them to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. Like you're literally looking for you, if not better. And that's issue number one, because number one, and you should feel empowered by this, you're never going to find another you. And that's that. Just leave it at that. So once I got past that, then I was like, okay, so I don't need to find my twin, because at first I was really caught up on like finding someone that was my exact height, because I'm 5'10",
I remember
because you
that.
think
I
about it
remember.
and you want your child to feel like they belong to the family. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be so different. And now that I think back on it, like it's great if they are different. Like some people use donors from other races. Our first donor was Italian. So, I'm not Italian. And so then it becomes like a feature thing. Like, well, what features are important to me? Do I want someone that has like large shape eyes, or, do I want someone that has, a certain family background? But the most important thing you can do in trying to find a donor, and once I got past the like appearance thing, then it was like, okay, scratch all that. Let's look at health. You know, what is their genetic like testing results? Are they a carrier for anything? Are they healthy? Are they, are they, are they like, do they have any like major health issues on their side? That should be the most important thing that you start out with when you're choosing a donor. And when you're talking to your clinic, you want to ask for all that kind of information up front. And so that's what we did, and that's what they provided. Then you want to ask about their donors' success rates. So has this donor donated before? Which makes them a proven donor? Do they have any pregnancies like that have turned into live births from that? Those are the most important things that you need to be concerned about, y'all. Everything else doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because let me tell you something. My daughter looks exactly like her dad. She has his whole face.
Whole face. Whole face. I'm here to say he has. I'm like looking. I was like,
His
did she
whole
get?
face.
Did she get more of his face than before?
Right.
Because what is his whole
His
face,
his
y'all?
whole face. And Freedom, same with you. Your daughter looks just like your husband. So it wouldn't have even mattered if we had used my eggs, because she looks like him. I think that, sometimes like comparing like baby pictures, sometimes I definitely see like resemblance, of me in her, and naturally she will be like me because I'm raising her. I'm her mother, like her mannerisms, the way that she does things, the way that, those are the things that you provide to your child, like through nurturing. And to me, those are the most important things that you can give your kids. It's not so much the genetics, because a lot of people can just have a kid, but how do they raise that child to be like an outstanding member in society? That is all through nurture and everything. So once I got past those things and I started thinking about like, well, here are the other things. And that's what I got from the group was like, here are the things you really need to be thinking about when it comes to Yeah, and the same thing with Brit. You know, her little baby girl looks just like her daddy too. Like, and she, you know, used her own eggs. So like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But you really have to prioritize what's important. And first, it's going to be looks. But once you get past that, that's okay. Once you get past that, then you think about the important things.
Thank you so much. And again, if you're just joining us, we have Sherri here. She's sharing her infertility journey about how she used donor eggs to create her beautiful daughter. And I want to kind of pivot a little bit because there are some people in the chat who do not know essentially how the process works. And
Mm-hmm.
I want you to kind of share a little bit because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we get to this other side, and I want y'all to know like, we're not that every step of the way. And I can just personally say, because when Sherri came in my inbox, it was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I need help.
Mm-hmm.
Like, walk me through this. And
Yeah.
so when you picked your donor, you had one like all lined up, correct? And
Correct.
then that fell through. Now I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
Remind me, because so what? This is what happens if you're not knowing to the donor world. You either have a choice to pick what some people do is a fresh donor, means that she goes into the clinic, she cycles, and most of the time those eggs are all yours. And so
Mm-hmm.
you then create your embryos, and then you'll have those. The second option is doing frozen eggs, which means that a woman has already gone into the clinic and then they preserve them, and then her profile is up, and then she's you can pick through her profile, you can see how many she has. Now statistically, is one better than the other? I think whatever works is what you say is the best one, right? Like you say,
Yeah. Whatever works.
so whatever works. I'm like, you have people who say, who are 10 times like, just get frozen. It does make the
Mm-hmm.
process easier because there could be a situation where that donor maybe doesn't have a good cycle, and so you maybe started over with. Either way, I will tell you
Mm-hmm.
this: there will be anxiety no matter what, no matter
Yeah.
which route you choose. So
Mm-hmm.
um because me and you were supposed to have the same donor, right?
Yeah, we were. We had the same donor at first, and then, and that's the thing. Even with this, it's not guaranteed. So don't go into it thinking like, oh, I'm guaranteed to get pregnant and have my baby, because it's not guaranteed. We actually had to choose a different donor because there were some health concerns that came back from, what was it, like one of a baby that was born from her eggs
Right.
later that
Yeah.
had some issues, and so they wouldn't let us proceed with using her eggs. And so I was devastated because I was like, well, who else am I gonna pick? And like it was bad. Like I almost wanted to not go to the clinic anymore. Like I was just pissed because they wouldn't tell me what was going on, and for privacy reasons they couldn't. And so once we got past that, the donor that we chose, I don't understand why I didn't choose her first. Was it the
Right.
height thing, maybe?
Yeah, because you were definitely
Yeah.
stuck on the donor that I used. She definitely was taller.
Yeah, she was
And
five
then
seven or something, I
yeah, she
think.
was like 5'7", 5'8". And so
Yeah.
you were like, but I wanted a tall donor. I wanted a tall donor. I was like, girl, I was
Yep.
like, and I said, what the stats are? What the stats?
Right. Right.
Do
And
it
that
work?
and that was this is why you need a tribe, because you need someone that is going to bring you back down to reality and be like, that doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter. And the donor that we chose, her background is so similar to my husband's background, which made her even more perfect because my husband is Liberian, and part of her background is African also. And like, how perfect could that be? Like that is amazing, amazing, amazing. And she had such good results from previous cycles and stuff. And I just remember, I think I was out somewhere and I was online on the portal, and I had reserved. So our donor we used, she had eggs that were already frozen. So she had cycled previously, and she had some eggs left over. And what they do was they will just freeze them and give them, have them available for other families to use. And so that's what we chose was frozen. And so my donor didn't have to go through like the egg retrieval process, like live, what they call fresh eggs. So we were able to kind of skip that, and not have to deal with like her taking her medications on time and everything. But you still have to deal with, are the eggs gonna thaw? Because you lose some in the process. So there's literally always something that you're going to have to worry about, you know? And so you got to have real thick skin dealing with infertility, anything, you know? There's a lot of people that have to tap out after like one try because it's emotionally taxing and draining. But what Sharonda would always tell me, keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. And I would always try to remember that when things would get tough and get hard. And it was great to have her and like our community, like so many other people to talk about and vent to about this, because, you know, there were people that I was like, you know, well, they have their babies or they don't have their babies, but they're still going. So I can keep going too, you know? And so I made a YouTube video about this today too. And what I was saying is like this process of meeting this donor and picking someone, like, you know, this is the toughest decision you will have to make in your life and in terms of choosing a person, because this is the person that is going to give you that little seed of life, you know, and you're going to have all these parameters and all these like things you need to check off on your checklist about like, you know, what do they need to have? What do they need to, you know, this and that, but you will never meet them, you know, you will never meet them. You know, a lot of people, don't want to be contacted. They want to keep it anonymous, you know. A lot of people that donate don't want to have kids of their own. And so they want to donate to give someone else a chance to have the chance at life, which I think is so selfless. You know, there are people that are like transgender that before they go through the reassignment, they want to donate so that they can help, you know, another family to have a baby. And y'all, that is the most selfless gift that someone could ever give, you know, and you will likely never meet them, you know. But so yeah, that's the process that we went through. Someone asked a question, did I meet or reach out to your donor? No, I didn't personally. I did not. Our clinic, it's anonymous through our clinic in terms of like communication. You do get to see pictures of them as an adult and as a baby, which I think is great. But some people use family members for their donors. You know, we have a friend who I think she's her cousin for her as her donor. And so
she's sitting in the chat. She's sitting in the chat right now.
Hey, Keisha girl. Hey, Keisha. And Keisha was another person who I followed like a hawk every day, watching, you know, her journey from being pregnant to giving birth to now Nia is what, almost 2?
Nia's almost 3.
3? Oh my God. I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. But that's what I'm saying. Like, these are family, you know. Keisha was at my baby shower. Sharonda was at my baby shower. And, you know, like, I'll be there for them when they do stuff, if Keisha does baby number 2 and Sharonda gets her baby, like, you know, we are a family. And so it's a process. And Sharonda and I actually met for the first time in Utah. We happened to be there at the same time for our transfers. That September transfer of mine that didn't work. She was there at the same time for a transfer, and we were staying in the same hotel. So that was the first time we met in person, you know, and I was living in Florida at the time, but now I'm back in Atlanta, so we can meet for lunch more often. But like, it's become like a family, and you really have to find your tribe, because what I say is also very important is for our children that we have that are donor conceived, it's going to be very important for them to have a community around them of people that they can relate to when times get hard, when they know their story. You know, like Ella already has little cousins that she can call and talk to about her story if she wants to. Little cousins that she can relate to, you know, aunties and uncles and parents that have had their donor conceived children as well, where it will be a normal topic of conversation in our household, you know? And that is so important to be able to have that. She has that community, and then I have that community, because Sharonda also hosts for our group a retreat. We did our first one last year. And that was awesome. It's going to just keep growing every year. I think we're going to do a reunion with the babies one year, you know?
Yes, we're gonna do that too. I gotta figure out how
Yeah.
to incorporate that one because now I think we're like up to maybe shoot, I don't know, maybe some of the chat who's in here can probably say what maybe 30 babies now at this point. You know
Yeah.
that we've had come through, and it
Yeah.
the conception of the group was just like for me, um, just grasping at someone who was doing something that I was doing. And I think that
Right.
Sherri can say that's like, there has to be somebody out here who is doing this and,
Yeah.
you know, following Simply Tanika, she's on YouTube,
Yeah.
and following Indigo Coleman because she just was brave enough to share her story, and
Mm-hmm.
Sadie, who was brave enough. And I was just grasping at straws and going through Facebook groups and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, why don't we have a space for us?
Yeah.
Why isn't that? And that's really what the conception of the group is, because I was like, we shouldn't have to be hopping from DM to DM. Like, this is like, something like, hey, psst, psst.
Yeah. Right.
Can you tell me
You
about
doing it too?
you doing it too, girl? I'm doing
Right.
it too. I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so now that, I think that probably the number one question that the two top questions I think that we get in the group every day is, and I think that you can firmly, can talk about this since you are now on the other side, is connection. What if I don't have
Mm-hmm.
a connection with a child who is not DNA related to me?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that, and then we'll talk about the second number two question that we get probably every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But that I think is the number one question is, am I
Mm-hmm.
going to connect with a child who is not DNA related to me?
Um, yes, you will. When it happens can vary between person. Everyone doesn't have a connection right away. But the nice, beautiful thing about donor conception is that you get to be pregnant. And so for me, I was worried about, well, am I going to bond, the same way? But as soon as I felt that baby move, I was connected in my stomach. You know what I mean? I was connected to her. But everyone does not bond right away. But that happens even if it's not a donor conceived child. So I want everyone to remember that sometimes. It's like some women have a hard time bonding even when it's their own biological child, you know? And so, yes, the layer of, donor conception, it adds another thing to think about, and this is where if you go into a good clinic, they will have you go through basically seeing a therapist before they will agree to consent to give you and release eggs to you. Because you need that. Most people are not checking in with themselves mentally, on a good day. So you definitely need that when you're going through that, because it's something to adjust to mentally. I mean, some of the things that, I thought about that were maybe silly thoughts were like, does she know that I'm not her biological mother? No, she don't know that. Will my husband not look at me like I'm her real mom? No, he doesn't think that. But these are all valid thoughts that someone going through this might have. And so I do encourage you to get some mental support, that like a professional person that is experienced with donor conception preferably, but at least going like infertility and all that, because that shows up too. Like, one thing for me that was hard was like, once I got pregnant, I had all of this like infertility trauma that I still had to carry. And so for me, that showed up like, well, what do I do now that I'm pregnant? How do I prepare now to be pregnant? How do I prepare now to be a mom? You spend so much time on the other side that sometimes you have a hard time transition. I act like it sounds like someone that went to jail. Like you don't know what to do when you out.
Right.
And it's the same
And are you
thing.
really out? Are you really
Are you
out?
really out?
So,
Because when we go for baby number 2, it's going to start all over again,
right.
And so you really have to, thank you, Mom. Very happy grandma. Ella loves her grandma. So that's who Ella is. Her middle name is after my mother-in-law, Jane. So Yeah, and then you worry, is your family going to accept this child? Is your family not going to look at you as this child's mother? Because I have heard some people's families will say some crazy things, and it's like, you can't prevent all that kind of stuff from happening because, for one, other people that have not gone through it don't understand it necessarily. And you have to have real tough skin because people might say crazy things. Your child may say crazy things one day. Like, you just have to be mentally prepared for all of this and have really tough skin. But bonding for me was, it was easy, I would say. I did have moments of like I said, those insecure thoughts. I definitely had those moments. Like, if I noticed maybe in the beginning, like, she wouldn't smile at me at first. She always smiled at daddy at first. And I'm like, oh, she knows.
She don't know.
I'm like, I don't think she likes me. But like, now that little girl, if I leave the room, she's not happy. She is not happy. Like, if she'd be looking at me like, I need your eye contact. We are bonded. We are bonded, but it doesn't happen that way for everybody right away. And I think that that's okay. You should understand that it's going to be an adjustment of sorts, and then give yourself time even after your baby is born. That was another thing that I did, was I didn't want anyone in the hospital right away. Didn't want any visitors in the hospital. We wanted some time at home to bond for a couple of days before anyone came. And we didn't share with our families that we used a donor until Ella was maybe 2 months old.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to adjust to that while I was pregnant. I didn't want to have to deal with that, right after she was born. I wanted time to just get back to me and then deal with that. But everyone is different. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, she's my Velcro baby. She's Velcro to me. But that's what I say is, like, give yourself the space you need to do what you need to do, whether that is bonding. I had a very detailed birth plan, and yeah, the birth plan kind of goes out the window, but at least everyone knows what the boundaries are and what to expect. Because once your baby is here, that is not the time to be trying to draw lines in the sand about certain things. It's too late,
And I love when you were talking about, because I followed even afterwards and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're not following Sherri, definitely pick her up. She's definitely documented a lot of things. But I remember you were getting towards the end, and you were like, I have a plan. I don't even want to share the plan because I don't want opinions.
Nope.
It's a plan there. It's in place. But at this point, the plan can go out the window. But I just need to learn.
Yeah.
I've adjusted so much through this that I just need to just.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna let this birth plan that I've had planned out not stress me out even more. And I love that, about it, because so many, when you're facing through all of this and you're like, okay, I just want something to go right. You just want something. And the truth of the matter is, everything is supposed to happen the way it's supposed to happen. It is. We've got some moms in here who use donor eggs, and they're all saying the same thing. I can't get this child off my neck. Okay. Yeah. I can't get this child off.
It's like, I kind of need a break today.
I need a break. Look, so
I love you so much, but dang, I need a break.
But so I think it's safe to say, and I love that the mamas who had those same fears, they all come back and they make that success story post, and they all say the same thing. I promise you, it does not matter. It does not matter. Now, we do have moms who do want to know their donor, and there are avenues to do that. I think, is your donor open at 18 that she can contact the clinic?
I did ask about that, and they said that would be fine, maybe an email address or something. And so that, to me, is something that I will always make available for Ella, is if she wants to reach out or connect, I will always help her do that. That would be my duty, is to help her do that. And so that's the other thing that you have to be comfortable with, is some people don't want to share this with their children. And I'm like, with the way that these family tree and 23andMe and all these genetic family tree things work, they're gonna find out. you know?
Right.
And the last thing I want to do is not share that with my daughter because it's a beautiful part of her story, you know? And I personally don't think that, you know, it's right to keep that from them because it's part of their identity and who they are. And so I've had conversations with her since I brought her home about her story. And she's too little to understand now, but when she gets older, it will just be a normal part of conversation that she will understand like what a donor means and that she has a donor and this donor gave mommy a very special seed and you know we borrowed that seed and it was planted and that's how she's here. It's all about like how you frame it, how you tell them, and then also as the parent getting yourself used to having that conversation early makes it less like scary for you later, you know.
Right.
And so yeah, like I talked to Tanya about that and I was like, you know, we would like to be able to at least have an email communication if Ella wants to do that and if the donor is open to that, you know. And so they're amenable to that. So I personally think that that is the best way to go about this because then some people feel like, well, I don't want her to to talk to the donor because then she'll look at me a certain way. I'm just like, you can't be insecure with your kid. If you've been a good parent and you have instilled and you've given them a good life and you have instilled, you know, values in them and everything, you cannot be insecure about your child reaching out to their donor, you know?
Yeah. Because I think like that was a question before that someone said, that their fear was, what if, this child like finds out and they're gonna want to go be with her, and I said, that's like a very extreme that a child who's in a loving home, and you're the only person that they know is gonna leave you and cling to some stranger that they've never met just because they share the same DNA, like there's just not anything that I can understand, but we have to make some of these things make sense,
Right.
And I just say this, I'm like, if you knew the parents who you were born to just up and told you that they weren't genetically related, would you like leave? Like, no, you'd be like, okay, well, we just got to figure this out because so I don't know what to do. So at the end of the day, like, this is where the therapy comes in. This is where it comes to the terms of, being okay. And we want you to know that if you, I think I was talking to someone yesterday in the chat and I was like, if you're 35 or something like that, that may not be a situation that you need to think about right away. But perhaps like you're like older, over 40, 45, we have moms who are in our chat that, in our group that are 50, 51, 52. So, when you get to that older age, more than likely you probably would want to think about that, as an option. But, I always just say like, take your time, it's not something that's instantaneously that you need to just hop on. If you want to take a year, we still have women waiting, still just like, I don't know, but because they've been in our space, they're like, okay, all y'all getting y'all babies and I want one too.
Right.
I want one too. So, put me on, sis. And so the second one, Sherri, because I know if you're just joining us, I have Sherri here. She's talking about how she used donor eggs to build her family. We are over here at about almost 35K likes, so don't forget to keep tapping that screen. Where are you at, Miss Sherri, for your likes?
About 2,700.
That's we need to get up to 5K over there, folks. We gotta get
likes.
We need 5K likes over there. So we need to affordability. So if you don't know, going this route is not $5.99. It's not.
It's not.
It's not even $20.99. So affording this is really expensive. If you do not have the means to pay for it, it can cost up to at least $50,000 for some people. And we're talking about $50,000 and we may not get a baby kind of thing. So let's talk about affordability, how you are able to afford it. and what that looked like for you.
Mhm.
You know, we can even talk about it everything, because look, not just the donor part, like you have been seeing why. So, you know,
Yeah.
when did you stop counting is what I want to know. When did you stop counting?
Uh,
How much it cost?
I stopped counting a long time ago. I mean, luckily, I always had insurance to cover something. But our first time around, I mean, we still had to take out a loan because the insurance that I had at the time was very picky about what they would cover. And some insurances, like because of my age, I had to do like certain tests to make sure that I was basically not in premenopause and stuff. And so the Freedom says some of the buckwheat. You mean the wheatgrass?
You didn't take enough wheatgrass.
Oh no, I took my wheatgrass, girl. I made sure that I was good, so that the wheatgrass. I have a whole blog article about wheatgrass and how it helps to lower your FSH hormones. So if you're interested in that, look at my bio and go to my blog, and you can find that article there. But anyways, like I had insurance all the way along, but we still had to take out a loan for some things that they wouldn't cover. Like in the beginning, my insurance, my deductible was like $1,500, so I had to pay out of pocket $1,500 before anything would be covered. That's money, you know. Certain things like genetic testing, which we did the first time around, wasn't covered, so we had to pay for that. So like we had like I mean, we still have that loan. It's a 10K loan that we're still paying down. Then when I got better insurance, which is Progyny, fast forward to the donor portion of it, they reimbursed. We still had to pay out of pocket. We still had to pay a lot of money out of pocket. And so that's the thing, is like you have to be real creative about, you know, where your money, how you're paying for things. Some people use credit cards, some people borrow from 401ks, some people may do GoFundMe, you know. But what we talk about in our group, which I love because it's not just about like getting comfortable with using donor eggs, is how do I pay for this and get my baby? And so I have Progyny insurance, which Progyny is like top tier when it comes to fertility coverage. And so Sharonda has a really wonderful spreadsheet that she's created that lists all the companies that work with Progyny. And so the thing I like about Progyny is that they don't, they use something called like smart cycles. So if you think of them like a pie, like pieces of pies, every plan you get a certain amount of pies allotted to you before you start your fertility journey. And each procedure is a portion of that pie. So it doesn't matter if the clinic charges like $60,000 or $5,000, you know, whatever that procedure is the same amount of that pie. And so that's why people like Progyny, because it kind of eliminates like, well, it takes away that, well, I can't afford that clinic mindset. It allows you to work with like the best clinics in the country because they only work with certain clinics. And if their clinic is not on that list, then they won't cover it. So we use a combination.
Pre-authorization too.
Pre-authorization.
Pre-authorizations. There's no pre-authorizations with that insurance.
Yes,
So you
yes.
don't have to worry about, so some people have their tubes tied and all that kind of stuff. Like Progyny doesn't care.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The employer has that benefit,
Mm-hmm.
go get your baby.
Yeah, they will. Freedom, I'll send you the Facebook group link when we get off here. Is it in your bio, Sharonda? The Facebook group? Progyny is the name of the
Google, if you
insurance.
just look up every shade of infertility, we'll come up. So if you just look up every shade of infertility, you'll see us there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we use a combination of, you know, like for me, because I had such great insurance, we just had to kind of come up with the upfront money. So we use a combination of credit cards and we took out a loan, but we were able to like just pay it right back off once we got the reimbursement back through Progyny and stuff. So we just did everything we could to get that upfront money. And then like we even got money from our wedding that helped to finance some of our fertility stuff. and so it's one of those things. Like some people will go and work at, Amazon for a day just to get the Cobra benefits because Amazon has Progyny. A lot of people have gotten their babies that way. Like you don't have to quit your job. So we talk about a lot of that kind of stuff in our Facebook group as well. So there's ways to go about it. And that was one thing that I liked about Sharonda too, was she was just like, don't pay all this money out of pocket. Don't go poor, like don't use your life savings. Like do what you need to do to get that insurance. Like I'd rather you get the job that covers the treatment than you going all out of your way to try to like rob Peter to pay Paul, because the thing about it is, and this is why you need to pick a good clinic. You do all of this, there's still no guarantee that it's going to work. So you want to have as many possibilities as possible. And so that's another reason why we switched, was because we only had one donor embryo at CNY. That was only going to give us one chance. Well, what if like my first transfer using a donor embryo didn't work? So we would have just been out of luck. But we had more embryos at Utah because we had a donor that produced really well and we had a lot more chances, and we still have embryos left. So yeah, we had to, kind of come up with a lot of money up front, and I got reimbursed, which was great, but we still have opportunities left. So, now my insurance just covers, like they'll cover just these transfers almost for nothing, Right. So, that's what I love about the group, is not just like, hi everybody, here's my baby. It's like, well, how did you get your baby? And how can I get my baby? We really help each other a lot. And so that's what I love the most.
I mean, we all come in, everyone who comes in doesn't always come in fired up. So, I mean, we see it all the time. And, one thing that they can say about the group is I finally found my safe space, And so I just wanted, and I know that there's other women out here who don't know the space exists, because really, y'all be honest, I don't do like a lot of advertisement. Most of the people who found it were from a girl named Shannon, and now she has a son. And I was like, now look, I know you got a son, but you my number one recruiter. So you need to get out there in these streets, because you was recruited for me. And I'll be like, how you get here, Shannon? I was like, dang, Shannon be in these streets. She be finding, you write a post on a different group and you don't know where to go. Shannon at 3 seconds later, like, girl, come over here. We got a space. So I wanted to create something the same way, similar. But we are getting we have been here for 2 hours, girl. I don't even know how we did that.
2 hours?
I know.
Sure? Is it 2 hours?
It's just been an hour. I feel like it's 2.
Yeah, we just having a good time. But I wanted
to see if let's start taking some questions.
Yeah.
And see and you know what, you guys, like there's no all I just say is on either side, just be respectful. Because there are no dumb questions, but if you're gonna say something like negative about what it's doing, like you can just exit and keep that to yourself. But we're happy to answer any questions that you have in the chat on either side, and we can see like what where you are, if you want to even share. I will also, let me see here, I can put my second page. If you're nervous, you don't want people to know, I'm going to tag my my backup page, and then you can just send a DM in the
for the roses.
You can send a DM in there if you just want to ask a question, and we can so it's gonna be like a little echo. Hold on, I'm gonna turn the volume down so it doesn't echo when I do that.
I think Heather, did you have a question? I saw you posting a couple of times. I want to make sure I get to that. If you do, just drop it again so I can see it here fresh. And you guys, if you know anyone that could benefit from listening to this conversation, please share this live with them. Sharonda goes live all the time on TikTok, so she's here. Make sure you're following her. Make sure you're following me. I'm going to go live more often because I want to bring back those infertility chats that we used to do. So I always feel like that's such a great space, and I've met some really great people through those chats. So make sure that you guys are following both of us.
Exactly. So, did you see a question in the chat?
I don't see it here. I think Freedom, you were asking about Progyny. Yeah, it's Progyny. Progny. Oh, Prognyny. Progyny. I'll also send you the links to the
Okay.
Facebook group. Any more
So
questions, Justine?
we just have someone who just asked on how to start the first steps to IVF. Like, how do you start?
So, my recommendation is to do some research on clinics like in your area. And then I would make a couple of consultation appointments, like not just one, but I would say three, because you really want to make sure that you're with like the right doctor that's going to work with you like as a partner, not a dictator. So I would say do some research on clinics, and you can do that research. You can do it on Facebook. There are Facebook groups kind of like that are city based, which when we moved to Orlando, I was in like an Orlando IVF group. And so people had a lot of good recommendations on clinics in that area to use. And so I would start there. And then that's what I recommend, is to kind of start researching the clinics, and then you want to see their success rates and everything. And then go on YouTube and see if they have anybody that's done reviews on on their journeys with those clinics. That's what I did.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reputation. So there are regular just TTC groups. There's IVF. There's even an IVF group for melanin colored women. So everyone has. Okay, so somebody said they weren't from the U.S. And they can reach out online. They can verify your insurance and all that kind of stuff. Yes, definitely can do that. So yes, it's definitely best to work with a clinic. So you can start with your OB, but just to be honest, and anybody who's done IVF, is your OB is fine, but this is above their pay grade. So they're only going to take you. They're only going to take you so far.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna and they're just gonna do your baseline. So if you want to start with your IVF, yeah, I saw that part. I'm gonna answer it. I saw that. They're only gonna take you so far. So if you want to start with your OB, make sure like they're getting you on day 1, day 3 of your cycle. So as soon as you start your cycle, you want to do blood work. So you'll want to find out your estrogen, your LH, your progesterone, and your estrogen. Those are the 4 things they're going to test for. So I'm going to say this, I'm not a doctor, but people think I am, and I'm not. I just read a lot. So paging Dr. Ronnie sometimes, but those are the 4 things they're going to look for. They're going to make sure your estrogen is low, your LH is low. So everything should be low because you're in your cycle. That is your reset time for every woman. So if you're not reset and everything is not low, then that's problematic, But let's just say we get to the part where everything is low and it looks good. You check off all the boxes. The next thing they want to do is check your tubes.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure those suckers are clear. We want to make sure that there's nothing in there. So you may get what's called a HSG. And then, so sometimes your clinic will do it. Sometimes they'll have you go to the hospital to do it. Most of the time, depending on your insurance, it usually is covered. So you'll find out that some people they don't cover fertility services, but they'll cover the causes of what you may have. So it's always just HSG is only painful if your tubes are blocked, and most people know exactly that their tubes are blocked. Nobody has to tell them. It's just blocked. So that is that. And then you would go through the process of also an ultrasound. And then that ultrasound, they're going to look at your little producing and see how many ovaries. And they're going to see what's called a follicle. Follicles are what hopefully turn into eggs. So you may start at a baseline. I don't know what your baseline was, but my baseline was like, I only had like 7.
I had something like that.
Like really, really low. So they're going to tell you like, there's not a lot there. Not saying that you can't, but they may say it's not a lot there. So they're going to look at those things, and then you go from there. So the next question I had is, which is a loaded question. How long does the IVF process take? Now,
20
You just
years.
triggered a
Just
lot.
kidding.
You just triggered a lot of people in this group. Because baby, that's a loaded question. So
Yeah.
your process can be, if everything, and we say if everything goes well, then we will say that you get to the cycle, they clear you, we've done all the testing. So maybe they will say, okay, let's wait to your next cycle, and then you'll go to your baseline. We're gonna say in a perfect 20, somebody said 20 years.
That's what I said. 20 years.
20 years, like girl. So you're gonna go to your baseline again. They're gonna do initial blood work that I said, the same thing that they're gonna do. And then what the next thing they're gonna do is you're gonna get your clearance to start medication. So your medication can be depending on, you know, what's going on with you. So if you have, so Menopur is the one follow, and they're interchangeable. So some people do follow stem, some people do Menopur, some people do. Now I'm trying to think. I could just do
Gonal F.
Gonal F. Yes,
Gonal.
thank you, my warriors, and thank you, my warriors over there. Because if you know, you know.
Yeah, you know.
Thank you, because you can listen. Because if you know, you know.
Yeah.
But you'll take a bunch of medicine, and basically what they're supposed to do is, and that's what they call stems. They stimulate the ovaries, and they help the follicles at your baseline grow. So for some people, they have a lot. So that's why a lot of us use donors. So for instance, my donor, she probably had maybe 50 follicles, which is a lot, and initially. Yeah. And then like, as they take the medication over time, like all those 50 follicles are not going to be ready for retrieval.
Yeah.
Stems can last for some people 10 days. And so some people, they can go
14,
15, sometimes up to 20. It's really just how much you respond to the meds. Yeah. So there's some people who just, no matter how much they give them, they can up their dose, they don't respond. And so when they're not responding to the meds, then your doctor may say, cycle cancel, we're going to try again.
Yeah.
And that's a strong possibility that could happen. So we want you to know that, you know, we see a lot of people who don't have any problems, but when it comes to medical intervention, that's a totally separate beast. Okay. Yeah. It's a separate beast. If you ain't ready for it, like it ain't, you know, some people go, they respond well, they have a good retrieval, and there you go. Yeah. And so what happens is, so that process can probably last about your true IVF process of your egg retrieval can last, you know, 10 to 20 days for some people, because you want to make sure that those eggies grow to a certain millimeter, and they like to see between 18 and 22. So that's why they're sitting there. And you know, if you're in the IVF process, you go through blood work because they're looking to see if everything is increasing like it should. They're also looking to see, and if you guys, Maz, if you see a question, just pin it so I can see it. But they'll also see, you know, how many are you coming. So you go from that 20 initially to what, 10, maybe 5, maybe 4. Like we just don't know.
Yeah. Freedom saying you grew that part too. You do. You do agree that part, like what your egg reduction ends up being, you know.
Oh, okay. So it just really ultimately just depends on how well, you know, you respond to the meds. So then let's just say you get 5. Let's just say you get, you know, how many you get. You take those, you take it with the good stuff, you mix them together, and then you hopefully haven't gone off the rails because, you know, they told you had 20 follicles, and now they're like, great news, we got 8.
You're like, great.
You're like, what?
It's a numbers game, y'all. Like it's a numbers and a quality game, you know. So that's the thing.
Yeah. So it may be like, high up, but you just keep your eye on the prize. So some women have to do multiple retrievals, and that's when, we come in to say, you've done all these multiple retrievals. Maybe we need to think of something else to do.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
did you have another question in the chat?
I do. I have some questions. Heather, I want you to connect with Keisha. Keisha is awesome about like the whole like Amazon side hustle thing. Like you don't usually have to quit your job when you go try to work for Amazon to get the benefits. But she's done that process. So please do connect with her. I can also send you the Facebook group because a lot of women in that group have done that as well, but you don't have to quit your job to be able to get like Progyny benefits. You can do both. And then let me see what else I have here. I think, oops.
Someone said, and if you've ever done IVF, this is like so I just did a video yesterday. I'm taking Lupron. And so what you'll find out is they'll make you take medication so you don't have a cycle. So the odd thing is when you're doing IVF, they make you take birth control. And you're like,
right. Like, that's kind of a slap in the face. Just a little bit of a slap in the face.
So every time I take Lupron, they say, do you know that this could prevent pregnancy? And I'm like, yeah, I know. So, and then someone else said too, so what can happen too for women if you have PCOS? So what happens is a lot of times is you guys have like a large quantity amount of eggs, but they're not all going to be mature. And that's what the problem is. So you'll have like women with PCOS, they have problems conceiving because you get eggs all the time. You get a plethora, you get 50, 60 in there.
Yeah.
But we've seen women who have 50 follicles with PCOS and do IVF, and they only have like 2 good embryos or none.
Yeah.
So, that's the Lupron is not for the weak.
Nope, I took it. I had to take it. Do what you gotta do. What you tell me. I am the prize. I was like,
it's not for the weak. It is definitely not for the weak. You just say, okay, I just recently took a shot. And I was just showing, because I have a medical drawer, and hold on, let's see. And as you can see, I've taken it like 1, 2, maybe 1,200 times. So Lupron is yes, and that's what Lupron is supposed to do. It's supposed to put you into a medical menopause. So and you get all the symptoms.
It sure did.
You get the hot flashes. You sure did.
It sure did put me in the little early menopause. But
what
did you tell me? Eyes on the prize.
Eyes on the prize. And she was like, sis, it's hot.
It's hot. This is rough. And I was in Florida.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
That's the thing that I really like about our group is it really, like this is a marathon, y'all. This is not a sprint. So you can't like it's fine to take breaks when you need to and everything. But at some point, like if your goal is to be a parent and, have a baby, like you got to just jump back in there at some point, because I do feel like sometimes the longer you take breaks, like the harder it is to get back, because you're so like, my God, like if it doesn't work again, then you're gonna take a 5-year break. Like right. you can't do that, But like 6 months, a year, sometimes you just need to get your mind back in a good place again, And
I totally agree with that. I told everyone, I'm like, when you get that news, everybody knows me, and the age-old question I get all the time is, girl, when you transfer it? And I just said, not now. Not now. It wasn't the time. Now, if you're following me, I am, now gearing up for my 4th transfer. But they all know, like, I didn't even talk about it. I was like, ain't no need to talk about it. Ain't nobody going nowhere. I'm sitting here, and I'm just going to, sit in what I'm going through and just let that be, because the whole thing is delay. We talk about that all the time. Does not mean denial.
Yeah.
And what I tell these ladies all the time, if the desire is there, like sometimes it gets taken away.
Yeah.
If that desire is there to be a mom, you
Yeah.
know, don't let that stop you. You know, there are ultimate ways to do it.
Oh, Freedom, exciting. You're getting ready for your transfer.
Yeah, she was
I'm
telling me.
exciting for you.
Freedom in the chat. She is going to be here next week. You know, we all have a unique
Yeah.
story, so she's going to talk with us next week about her journey. She actually did use the CNY. Did she use CNY?
Mm-hmm.
She
Yeah,
used
that's what I mean.
CNY,
Like, some people had success.
and
She did with her beautiful little girl.
she got her baby. And the funny thing is like I knew about her, but I didn't know who she was. So
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Yeah, that's my friend." Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
people take breaks all the time. Someone in the chat said I took 8 months in between. I think I'm
yeah.
going on over a year from
Mm-hmm.
going through it. The last one just kind of was like,
Yeah. It
no, I
was a
don't want to
lot.
think about it right now.
It
So
was a lot. Freedom
sometimes
asked
you
if you
just
can
have to
talk a
do
little bit about egg quality.
it. Okay, you want to talk about it?
You can talk about it.
So egg quality is basically your age. And again, like I'm gonna say, I'm not a doctor, but you know, we've had doctors come in before, and you know, she gave a great little pie chart to say, you know, if you're a woman in your 20s, you know, statistically, you have a better egg quality. That's why clinics won't accept donors past the age of 32, I think sometimes. It just
Mm-hmm.
depends on the age of the clinic.
Yeah.
So, statistically, a woman in her 20s, early 20s has a better egg quality. Oh, hey girl, has a better egg quality than a woman who's like 45, maybe 50. So, egg quality is just going to be, you know, the recommendation that RA is going to tell you is start eating right. You know, exercising, diet plays a good role into healthy egg quality. But after you get to a certain age, then you know you may, no matter what you do, the egg quality may not be there. As I stated before, and I think Sherri stated before, you know, at our baseline ultrasounds, we're both over 40. That you know we only had like 7 follicles. So you know if you
Mm-hmm.
stem those, because you stem. So how many did you end up having like towards the end of your retrieval?
Trying to think. The last egg retrieval we did, I think we had dang, I used to know these numbers like my middle name. I think we probably got 12 total at 12 eggs total, and then I think only like 6 maybe were mature, something like that.
You had day 3 embryos, or you had day 5?
Day 3.
Day 3. So what
Mm-hmm.
happens is a lot of clinics, because you're an older woman, what they'll do is try to give you the best chance. So they will grow them and freeze them at day 3. And then the hope is they get into your body, and then they can complete the process of becoming what's called an embryo. And the
Mm-hmm.
embryos was actually the baby. So um, day 5. So they're hoping that, and which is why she was allowed to transfer too, because it's day 3. The likelihood of both of them becoming a success is a lesser chance than her doing 2 5-day embryos.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why she was able to do 2. So we have a woman in the chat. I mean, she put a whole squad in there, right? So
She
what did Shannon put in there? She put a whole basketball team. She was just like,
did.
baby, we're gonna put about how many did we
Something's
do,
gonna
Shannon?
stick.
How many did we do?
Somebody's gonna stick.
Candace coming in. Not at one time. I think it was like 5, right? Because we was all.
We were like, girl.
She was like, so yeah, we put 5 in.
Now, you know, there's so many people that end up with twins and
Right.
triplets from those day 3s.
She did 4
So,
the first time, and then she did 3. So she
mm-hmm.
transferred 4. That didn't work, and she transferred 3, and she has 1 child. So you know,
Mm-hmm.
so you know, they just ran the gamut, and
Yeah.
so she just has 1 little boy. She's also coming to share her story as well. But yep, we just 4 fresh and 3 frozen. So they did a fresh, and fresh just means that they have the egg retrieval, they grow out to a certain amount, and then they just immediately stick those bad boys in there. A frozen means is what I have, and what Sherri has
Mm-hmm.
is they take them. A lot of times it's to be biopsied. So they'll take that and they'll freeze them in time so that you can come back later. So I have embryos on ice. Sherri has embryos on ice. So you don't have to really go through that whole IVF process again. It's just basically gearing up for a transfer. The babies are already there. We just need them to stick. So that is what the difference between fresh and frozen is. Fresh means like you only have that. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, you have to do another retrieval.
The thing I liked about frozen was I felt like it gave my body like a frozen transfer versus fresh. And fresh works for some people, but like I felt like my body needed some time to reset before like going from egg retrieval right into transfer with all those hormones. Like I felt like my body needed to just kind of get off those egg retrieval hormones, chill out, reset, come back at the optimal time when all the numbers were where they needed to be, and then do the transfer. To me, that just sounded a lot better, you know?
And someone in my chat said they felt like frozen transfer, like they had more control over the things instead of just immediately like going into transfer mode. Like the frozen gave them time to, like you said, do a reset, maybe go on a trip or something, maybe not think about it for a few months, and then you can come back to it. My chat wants you to talk about the transfer prep. What things did you do in preparation to transfer your embryo?
Thank you for the rose, Coco baby. So there's things that I did like not medically related, and then there's things that I did medically related. I was going to acupuncture before I transferred. If anything, it just made me really relax. It was my time to decompress from the world, from the phone, from everybody. And so I spent a lot of time on like self-care, I would say. That was like prep through acupuncture, massage, trying to eat as healthy as I could, because you're creating this house for this baby and you want your body to be like in its best shape. It's a marathon, you're training for it, right? So you should be putting good things into your body, not junk and BS. So eliminating a lot of sugar as much as I could, drinking a lot of water, drinking like warm, nourishing things like teas, things that would like help, you know, maybe the baby to stick. I don't know. Those things, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But I just try to take care of myself mentally. That was what I did. And that's what I encourage. Don't go overboard, like doing these crazy diets and things like that. Just try to like do as best as you can. Like if, you know, you're not really into like hardcore exercising, maybe just walk, you know, more consistently. Just do things that is like preparing your body. So I did that. I was on Lupron for 3 months, like Sharonda, that Lupron depot. So there were things that I had to cut out. Like I could not drink even a glass of wine because it was just like everything just felt dry, you know, super dehydrated. So like I cut out alcohol probably in like October before that February transfer. Cut out alcohol. I was on the Lupron for a while. I would say I didn't go as hardcore with the acupuncture that last transfer like I did the first time. I just got acupuncture like the day before my transfer and the day actually after the transfer. One thing that I did this time differently is when I went, so like, of course, you know, our clinics in Utah, we travel for treatment. So usually I was having the transfer and coming back the same day. This time I went the day before the transfer and I was there for the next day of the transfer. So I took off work like the day before the transfer, the day of the transfer, and the day after the transfer. And so mine was on a Thursday. So I was able to make a long weekend out of it. But like, I literally laid in the bed and did nothing. Like Sharonda makes these amazing journals and coloring books. Ma'am, I need you to promote those. She makes these like amazing IVF journals and coloring books. So she has one specifically for like preparing for your transfer, and then she's got some for like that 2-week wait, like after the transfer. And so that's what I did. I laid in bed in the hotel, did not really get out of bed. I think I Uber Eats like warm soups. People say go eat those McDonald's French fries. No, I ate ramen and pho. I wanted like warm, nourishing things. I colored in my coloring books. I journaled. I wrote a letter to Ella before, I even did the transfer, and just told her that I was like excited to meet her, and, that my body was ready for her, and that it was going to be her home for the next 9 months, and that we were going to have a good time hanging out. Like, I really manifested that baby. I mean, this was back in the time where I think Midjourney had just come out not that long before. And so I was like working on my prompts like with AI, and I created this little like digital AI Ella girl for
She
my
looks like her too. Like, it's so funny. Like,
she does. She does. And I remember like manifesting her through that, and I printed that picture out, and I made this little like prayer altar for her where I could go in there and like have that picture visual of her with all of my like, things to just welcome her spirit. And so I got my mind right. And then I feel like
and you went by yourself. You went by
I went by
yourself.
myself. I went by myself this time. I went by myself. I didn't want to have to like worry about anyone else. I didn't want to have to come home and walk the dogs right away. Like, I just wanted time to really get my mind in the space of, I'm going to get my baby, and I'm going to be pregnant, and, she's here. And I was like nurturing her and everything. So I did a lot of like, I think like mental preparation this time, manifesting, and then just being good to my body. Like, I was just like, cutting out like any alcohol was good. I mean, I miss my wine, but it just felt good to just feel like I was like kind of detoxing from life at the time, to kind of prepare my body for her and get ready. And so those are things that I did. But I will say, like, I was not as hardcore about the acupuncture and all that. I did that the first time around, and then that becomes stressful, keeping up with so many appointments, to get ready for the thing, to get ready for the thing, to get ready for the thing. And like, I was just like, this is too much. So I only did acupuncture out there, and I did it, like I said, a couple of days before and everything. But I think all those things made the difference, in addition to the medical treatment that I was on. Because here's the thing, you guys, you're going to be taking medication, whether you're using, like a donor or not, when you're preparing for a transfer. And so the mental state that you're going to be in sometimes on those medications is like, taking a lot of estrogen. You are not going, not having estrogen or taking a lot of estrogen, you are going to be an emotional mess, So you need to do things like taking a walk, getting a massage. Like, you need to do things that's going to get your mind, that's going to just kind of counterbalance that, because you're not going to feel like yourself,
And you're not. And I mean, especially like, you're, basically what they're doing is, if in a woman's regular cycle is, your body's really only supposed to work to produce that one good egg. You know what I'm saying? So when they're hopping you up with double that because they're trying to grow as much, like, you will be like, look, I am on the edge, and don't talk to me for about 5 to 7 business days, because it's a lot. And blood work, and then I have tiny veins, and then them like trying to find one to get one, and then they poke me like 12 different times to get that one stick, to get this one vial. No, I don't want to do it. I just don't. Like,
you don't.
Your ultrasound. Listen, if you don't know who Wanda is, do you really do IVF?
Right. It's a lot, y'all, and it's really invasive, and mentally that takes a toll on you after a while. Like, you're just like, you know what? I'm tired of this. Like, I just can't be strapped down and poked and prodded, and you still got to deal with everyday life. You're not taking off work. You got to go to work. You got to deal with people that are getting on your nerves at home or on the workplace. Like, you still have to function as a good member, high-standing member of society on top of all of this. And it's so hard. So that's my advice, is just prep for a lot of self-care. Look,
you mean this? You mean this?
Those little shot containers. I still have mine upstairs in the box.
You mean that?
you know, like you just get, and the other thing is like the schedule that you're on with your medications is very intense, and you can't forget to take your medication because you had a bad day at work. You know, like you got to pull it together. So you got to be really good to yourself. You know, that to me, that's the best prep, is to just be really good to yourself during that prep time, because you just don't want to, you know, it's a lot and you don't want to be bothered with a lot of things. So,
You got to be prepared to do this, you know, not from the comfort of your own home, but, you know, depending if you're traveling, you got to take with you in the car.
on the
You know, you got to
airplane.
airplane, you got to be, you know, in the bathroom somewhere doing it. I mean, if you have to, because you have to take it at a certain time, no matter what. When they tell you you need to do it at a certain time, you could be
Yeah.
out at the party. You gotta go do what you gotta do, go to the car. So, you
Yeah, I
know,
definitely had to do that.
if you embarrassed about stuff, you may want to think about doing something else.
Yeah.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna take like a few more questions,
Yeah.
and then I think this was a good turnout. I think, listen,
I think we
40K
did it.
likes. We still got 22 people in the chat. I think we did all right for our first live. I think that people like
Yeah.
this.
I have 10,800 likes. Thank y'all. I mean, I'm so proud of us, you know,
It was
for
and
showing up and doing
free.
this.
She's coming on. And
Yep.
every story is different. Every story is beautiful. And they
Mm-hmm.
need to be out here sharing these, because I can tell you right now, maybe they didn't speak, but there's someone who saw this and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, they got that news.
I can do this. Yeah.
They got that news, and now they know
Uh-huh.
that they can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have a Facebook group. It is for women. I can tell you right now, if you go in there talking about your own eggs, you gonna get your head bit off. So I would not advise you to do that. So, because
No.
I'm like, I can't encourage you, girl, because I didn't use mine. So, but
Right.
there are,
Right.
if you do have questions or you want to know someone who's just like, there's plenty of active TCC groups that are on there, and I can point you to those. But specifically, if you're looking to use third party reproduction, that is what our group is for. But I wanted these talks to be a space for every woman who is going through it. So you will see on this page, you will see a ton of stories that I'm hoping to bring of women just battling different things. I'm hoping to get some surrogates. I'm hoping to find
Yeah.
like some egg donors, because there's somebody on here who may be on the fence of wanting to be an egg donor, and I'm going to tell you to do it. You know, find that right clinic that's going to take care of you. But finding someone of color, we have that all the time. I can't find anybody who resembles me. The disparity is low. I will say a lot of these egg banks are becoming better, but you know, it's always needed. So
when are you going to be going live with the other guests? Let everybody know, so we'll know when
the
to
plan
tune
is
back
to do
in.
this same time, same bat station, Mondays at 9. I think it's a good time. It just kind of starts the week off. So we'll be here for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And if someone misses it, we're gonna end up putting this on YT so that you can come back and look at it. And that way, if you missed it, we'll have it uploaded so you guys can see it on there. Make your comments, ask your questions there as well. I am just blown away. You know, the hope is when I do things, and I know, like they always say, like, you know, I have women that say, like, you know, I'm the guru, but and you know, but I always just think that people are not going to show up, and I was like, it's just gonna be me sharing in the chat with like,
I know. I feel the
talking
same
to us. I was
way.
like, girl, what we gonna do? But we here. So I
What
was
we
like,
talk about?
you know, and even like me creating this space, I just thought it was gonna be like maybe 15, maybe 20 women. And I mean, now we're up to 1,600 women, and it's kind of slowed down. And that's what made me think, like, nobody knows about us. So I'm hoping to grow that to be, somebody said I'm definitely the guru. I'm a master. I'm a jack of all trades, a master of none. So, but I just see the disparity. I see the hope. I don't think that y'all realize the amount of DMs that I get a lot of times that say, I'm so happy I found this page. I'm so happy that I have someone to talk to. And when I get that DM saying that it worked, and then someone saying,
Yeah.
I helped them get their baby. She's 15 months now. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and sweet, I need to know, like, DM me and tell me who you are. Cause I'm like, I've seen, like, she's posted like a lot of times. I'm like, who is this? Who
Yeah.
is this? And you just never know, sharing your story, who you're going to
Mm-hmm.
touch, who is going
Yeah.
to be at the right time to hear. You just never know.
Never
So
know.
we want to share every story that we can possible. I'm hoping to get Sadie on here,
Yeah.
and just talk about raising children of a different race.
Yes.
She did embryo adoption, and her children don't look like her. The backlash that she gets for
Mm-hmm.
that. So just so many different talks that I want to have.
Yeah.
And Keisha's there talking about, she keeps telling me I'm responsible for so many babies. There is no need
She is
without
Keisha, and she
running.
knows it. She knows it. She knows it.
I'm just out here just sharing my
Doing the
story.
Lord's work. Just doing
And
the Lord's work.
I can't thank half of these women in here for putting their trust in me. Like, seriously, just putting their trust in me. And Sherri is one who I have talked to her, and I'm like, hey, I got, free, she's gonna do it. And she was like, you can do me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, are you ready? And her messaging me last night saying, this was the block that I needed, like, to get over
Yeah.
this. Like, this has helped so much,
Yeah.
doing this. So
It has. This was the part of the story that I had not shared. That like I make content. I make a lot of mommy content and things like that. And I'm working on a book. I'm not gonna talk about that. Um, I am, but I'm working on a book. But like, sometimes you just need that extra push from someone who sees your potential. And this was the extra push that I needed, was to go ahead and share in this safe space. And doing it with you is the best way possible, because I don't know if I would have just done it by myself, like in a live broadcast way. I mean, I just posted my first YouTube video about it, but I don't even know if I'm gonna like announce it on YouTube. I mean, on Instagram like that. Some spaces just feel safer than other spaces. And maybe I'll get there one day, but my goal always, and I think yours is too, is just to help people.
yeah.
It's to help people. And the things that I do, the products that I show or promote, or the things that I have and promote, is really just to help people. And so at the end of the day, I think you always remind me of that, and our group reminds me of that, is that we all are here to just help each other. So I'm
So
gonna
tell
keep doing my part.
everyone. So tell everyone where they can pick you up at, because you really are on all social media platforms. And what should we be looking out for you in the next few months?
Yeah, so you can find me at I am Sherri Yvette on all social outlets. On YouTube, I am just Sherri Yvette, but if you just type in Sherri Yvette, I should come up. But all my things are linked in my bio here. I'm on Instagram as at I am Sherri Yvette. I'm here on TikTok, trying to grow my community more here, because I love TikTok. I think it's a perfect space for this type of content. And then I am working on a children's book, and it's all about a little girl who is conceived through donor eggs, and it's based on Ella's story. And it's going to be used as a tool for parents to be able to explain to their child who was donor conceived how they were made. And so once I have that done, I will let everybody know, of course, and especially it's going to be, written from the point of view of a little girl, little Black African American girl. So that is missing in that space, even in itself, is how do we talk to our kids about how they were conceived. And a lot of people are nervous about having that conversation. So it's what better way to do it than through reading a book to your child, where the script is there, the love is there. It's all about love, this child being made from love. So working on that, hope to be done having that copy edited and illustrated in the very near future. So just keep up with me, and I will definitely have that. And then I'm working on some other things too. just some little like digital products that I'm working on that will help like new moms with like, you know, little checklists of how to organize their nursery. Cause like I said, once I got pregnant, I was like, what do I do now? You know, what do I need in a nursery? What do I need, you know, like for this, like how many newborn outfits that I have. So I'm making some digital products that people can use as guides for that. And then I'm working on like a journal, kind of like of a notebook journal slash ebook that can help people to guide them through how to work with different, like how to work with fertility clinics and just kind of keep everything together and organized along their IVF journey. So stay tuned for all that stuff. But if you're following me on social media, you'll know about it.
I love it. And I'm like, whew, we did it. So
We did
I
it.
am thoroughly excited
Me
to see
too.
where this series goes.
Yeah.
And you know, for the women that are coming up, the journey, it's just begun, y'all. If you,
Just
I'm
begun.
surprised that we didn't take out a tissue because I was like,
I
look, we may need
know.
some tissues, but you know,
They'll
we
be
did good
coming.
this time.
They'll be
But I'm not
coming.
gonna promise you the next time we ain't gonna need tissue. So
I know.
you
Mhm.
will see some amazing stories, amazing journeys. And again, I thank you, Sherri. I love you from the bottom of my
I
heart.
love you
I
too.
hate the way that we met, but I would
I
not trade
know.
our friendships for the world. It is the
No,
worst
me either.
club, best club to
Yeah.
be in,
Yeah.
but we are here,
Absolutely.
and there you go. So
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sharonda. I love you so much. I'm glad that you decided to do this because Sharonda also has some wonderful things coming too. Don't you want to share with everybody what you have coming or no?
yeah, I mean, if you check out my page, you will see I'm doing it. This is the first time, I'll be honest, I've ever journaled like really with video and stuff. I've always
Okay.
just kind of kept it to myself. But
Mm-hmm.
this is the first time I've actually been outward about what I'm doing. And am I doing it in real time? Ooh, no, 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 no. Because my mental
Mm-hmm.
health is
Yeah.
preserved for all of that. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I work hard for the community. I'm like this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also too, we touched on it a little bit, but it is in the works. I am developing an app so that if you want to know if a company has fertility benefits, that will be available towards the end of the year. I just had a
Ooh.
meeting with my developer. He's working on the back end and stuff like that. But and this was a
That
labor
is
of love. I
amazing.
have, and I'm still essentially researching right now. But I'm researching, trying to find every company, even if it's something as little as, you know, just $5,000. Every little bit helps. So if you were looking
Mm-hmm.
for your next employer, you know, I always just tell the girls, be strategic about it, you know, because, you know, we talked about Amazon, but did you know that Starbucks had fertility
Right.
benefits? Did you know that Walmart had fertility benefits?
Mm.
Target,
Yeah.
um, not just even these bigger companies like at Facebook and Microsoft, but you
Yeah.
know, your local Tractor Supply has fertility benefits. So even
Mm-hmm.
Lidl,
Yeah.
is a ton
Wow.
of companies out there that have fertility benefits that you don't even know about. So really honestly, and I'll touch on this, when I was Bank of America, yes, they all have SunTrust. The list
Mm-hmm.
goes on and on. And so I would actually just, when I found out that my job, and that's really just became the passion, when I found out that my job did not have it, I was like, okay, I can't do this. QVC, somebody's mentioning,
Mm-hmm.
but and I just would drive, and I would just look at an employer, and I would write that employer down.
Mm-hmm.
T-Mobile,
Mm-hmm.
is another one, and I would just write companies down, and I would just try to see if I could look and see if they gave me something to say that they offer fertility benefits. And so now federal governments are now starting to offer a little bit, but something that helps. So not everyone's going to give you the big bulk, you know, some people not, but if you're looking for it, I always just tell people to, and they'll know this if you're in my group, is benefits change every year. So one year your
Mm-hmm.
company may not offer it, and the next year your company will. And do you know, just be making that simple post saying check your own employer, that some people have been sitting there trying to figure out how they
Wow.
want to pay for it, and they have benefits in their pocket. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have an employer, check with them, see if it's covered. You just never know. And again, it may be 5,000, maybe 10, but at least it's something to help offset the cost. So I always just say, be strategic. If you're gonna find another job, which is what I did, so I don't tell anybody anything I didn't do. I was at a job for 15 years. I took a pay cut. I took a pay cut to go get my baby.
Yep.
I looked at the numbers and said, I am going to have to take a pay cut. But it was it was worth it. So I'm still with the company, and they pay for so much stuff. I have amazing insurance. Not only do they cover that, but they cover like a lot of things. So if you're looking, that's going to come out soon. I'm going to make it more easy for you. You don't have to drive around like I did, like writing down employers and digging. I'm doing the work for you to do that. And I want it to be another community where we are still helping each other. So if you see an employer and I put it and I don't have all of them, you be like, girl, sis, I got you. Like, we have the benefits. We have this. And then that way I want to reward you for that so that we can keep it going.
Yeah.
So we can just keep it going is what I want to do.
That's going to be such an awesome tool. I cannot wait for you for that to come out.
And then the second one, because, you know, I can't stop. My brain don't stop. The second one I have coming out that will be definitely be later on is one, we've talked about surrogacy. That's what you're going to start hearing about. But I'm trying to come in and encompass like safe space so that if you want to donate your embryos, you've done IVF, that you can match safely with the family. So that's going to take a little bit of work to do. I'm hoping to do that as well too, and come to the market so that we can donate to people that we know look like you, that you grow if you want to have a relationship with them, you know, that you can match safely. I'm going to also have it so like right now, if the egg donor is approved, like you, again, y'all, I did a lot of digging. So I was going from clinic to clinic to clinic trying to find what these people was. So I'm trying to make it to like, you can say, you don't have to go to all clinics. You can just go to Utah. I'm right over here.
Yeah.
You can match with me at Utah. You can match with me at CNY. You can match with me at Shady Grove. You can match with me here. And that they know. So I'm going to only use like approved clinic egg donors at first, approved surrogates on there at first. And then we'll kind of just see, you know, how the platform grows within itself. So those are the two. And then here, you know, these live interviews is something I've been wanting to do a long time. I started with blog form and they've been great, but I just feel like this gets the story off a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. We have someone who just joined. Jade, we're getting ready to wrap up actually, but we were just sitting here chatting. Sharonda was interviewing me about my infertility success story. And after a very long journey of infertility, finally ended up having our beautiful baby girl. So we talked about the journey and how we got here through the use of using donor eggs. If you want to check out some more details about that, if you, since we're wrapping up, I just actually made a YouTube video about it today. So you check the link in my bio, you can go to my YouTube channel, and the newest video there is all about my donor egg success infertility story. So you can check that out there.
And this is the very last question. I think it's appropriate, since, you know, someone said, how does Utah have so many women of color?
I'm trying to find that out myself. What is going on?
So your girl is a heavy promoter of Utah Fertility Center, and I just simply said, y'all got to step it up. And they said, challenge accepted. So this is the thing, you know, this is the power of your voice. Okay, so when you send your group to Utah to go get your baby,
your whole group.
They adjusted, okay? So they adjusted.
Right.
I think they are a center of excellence. You can definitely check.
They are.
Utah's pretty. Oh, they are? Okay.
They are, yeah.
So, so I had a conversation with my nurse, and she said, so we pretty much like have used every donor, and we got to get more. And I was like, yeah, you got to step it up. And they said, hold my beer. So
right. Well,
So if you
very
know the city
accepting.
of Utah, it's not very melanin friendly, but for some reason they've got like at least like 10. I'm not in the database anymore, but last time I checked, I
Hmm.
think they had like 10 pretty good solid donors, and they're getting them
Wow.
all the time. So
Yeah. Hmm.
um, so definitely if you're looking for a clinic, we both use Dr. Folk. He's
Yeah.
amazing. I showed a picture of him. If you go in my page,
Hmm.
me having my consult with him, I'm hoping to share a little bit of more of that
Yeah.
story, so that just our talk we had. He's an amazing doctor, and
Hmm.
he says in his own words, every woman deserves to be a mother. It just may not look like you painted the picture, but you can definitely be a mom.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that about them, and I think also like Utah takes really good care of their donors. That's the other thing I think why people keep donating there is that they just take such good care of their donors. So that's important to me too.
Well,
So
thank you, Sherry. I
thank you,
appreciate you.
Sharonda.
And we're gonna hop off. I'm gonna talk to my chat a little bit. I'm gonna do a little closing, and then I will talk to you in the DM because we talk every day, y'all. So this ain't
We'll
nothing new.
talk
I
in a few
talk to
minutes.
them. Right, we'll talk in a few minutes.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye.
joining.